right, 10 minutes before 10 o'clock. It's not a bad-looking day out there right now, but you know that we have trouble at our doorstep. We will have a storm. Hopefully, it just nudged a little bit to the east, so maybe keep your prayers going. Maybe we've got not as bad of a circumstance happening for Central Florida, but still, it does, at this point, still looks pretty bad. Life throws us a lot of curves. Storms are just one of them. If you have ever known anybody who was diagnosed with leukemia or lymphoma, then you know that curveball that is worse than any storm, actually. Dr. Louis DeBennaro is on the phone with Kimberly Alexander. Dr. DeBennaro is the president and chief executive officer of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and Kimberly is a strong advocate to raising awareness of myeloma, as she lost her husband, linebacker Elijah Alexander, to complications from multiple myeloma, and she sits on the board of trustees for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society North Texas chapter. They just went through their own I don't know if North Texas got Harvey too much, but they just went through their own hurricane they had to deal with. September is Blood Cancer Awareness Month. Good morning, Dr. DeBennaro and Kimberly Alexander. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Where are you guys?
We're in New York City.
All right. We should be safe today. Should be safe. Yeah.
We're wishing the best for you all.
Absolutely. I'm actually a Florida girl, so my thought and prayers are for everybody down there. My little brother's in Orlando.
Oh,
my.
Okay. Yeah. We just looked at it a second ago. It looks like it nudged a little bit to the east, so maybe we got enough time. You never know. Maybe the winds will blow it out, and we won't have much to worry about. But there's no wind that will ever blow leukemia away. Not to take a silly segue there, but that's when you're diagnosed. That's a lifetime disease. Am I right?
Well, yes and no. It really depends. We've made great advances in developing new treatments for leukemia and for lymphoma and multiple myeloma as well. There are patients that are cured of their disease, but you always have to be vigilant. The cancers can come back, and when they come back, they tend to be even more aggressive.
Wow.
So once one has a diagnosis like leukemia or lymphoma or myeloma, you have to be vigilant for the rest of your life.
One question I've always had about blood cancers is this. When a person has cancer, for example, anywhere on their body, and the doctor can cut it out, it's often takes care of the problem, and of course keep an eye on it. With blood, would a transfusion not fix the problem?
Well, no, a transfusion doesn't fix the problem, because the problem lies deep in the bone marrow, where the blood system is born, and that's where the cancer hides out, if you will. And so simply a transfusion replacing the blood cells that are in the circulation won't cure the disease. We have to find ways to get at the root cause that's in the bone marrow itself.
Kimberly, when was Elijah first diagnosed?
So Elijah was diagnosed in 2005, and it was a couple of years after he retired from the Oakland Raiders. And it's really interesting that you use that analogy as far as cutting the cancer out, because initially when he told me that it was cancer, that day I was in his hospital room, I immediately thought, okay, they'll cut it out and he'll be fine. People get diagnosed with cancer all the time. And when they told me that it was a blood cancer, that was when it hit me like a ton of bricks, that it was a whole different ball game, because I knew that it couldn't be treated so easily. And so that was when I became really, really vigilant about trying to find out all of the different treatment options and finding out about myeloma as much as I could to try to make the most out of the life that he would have, just because everything that I initially read was so incredibly scary.
Wow, and life changes greatly once you're diagnosed, I'm guessing.
Oh, absolutely. It became a battle at all times, because one of the things that he dealt with as far as being a myeloma patient was having a weakened immune system, and we had little kids. And so that meant that when our kids came home from school with cooties, they had to, stay away from their dad, because
oh my gosh,
for him could be life-threatening. And so it was one of those things that you just kind of have to, it's like a lot of on-the-job training as a caregiver. And so it was just really important just to learn as much as I could, to take advantage of the resources that I had from organizations like the LLS that provided all kinds of information about treatment options and symptoms and what to do with certain side effects. It was just really, really important to arm myself with as much info as possible.
So to make the best use of our time that we have with our listeners right now, we've got about 3.5 minutes left. What kind of information how do they get the information? Where should they go? In this day and age, the one thing I'm always concerned about is when we're hit with something that scares us, we immediately go to the internet, and you can find good information, but you can find some not so good information. So you guys will hopefully send us in the right direction.
Yeah, well, you're spot on there, and I think patients really need to avoid the bad information that's out there. I can promise you the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society has the very best information possible. There are a couple of ways to get to it. If you're a patient or a caregiver, call us. Call our Information Resource Center at 1-800-955-4572. We have trained healthcare professionals there who can help guide you to the best resources, the best treatment centers, the best treatment protocols. If you'd like to volunteer for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, if you'd like to become a fundraiser to help support our research efforts, come to our website, lls.org. And we have the best information there about how to get involved as a volunteer.
And Kimberly, you really jumped in with both feet. I mean, you had a fundraising event in 2016, and in 10 days you raised $400,000.
Wow.
That is a massive amount. Congratulations.
It wasn't quite 10 days. It was a 10-week campaign, and I had an amazing team of people. We had candidates that helped fundraise over $400,000. So it was an incredible team effort. I definitely cannot take credit for all of that, but I am so honored that I was able to chair that event. And it's one of the main campaigns that the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society has that allows people to help fundraise. And I know that those fundraising dollars help with research and help find a cure. And so that's one of the reasons why I've stayed involved. And it's one of the reasons why I encourage others to get involved and find out if it's not the Man Woman of the Year campaign, there are other campaigns that the LLS has that you can, just piggyback on and help us find a cure.
A lot of cancers, we're told early diagnosis is the best way of conquering the cancer. Is that true with this too?
I only wish it were so. And the challenge with the blood cancers is we don't have a good mechanism for detecting it early. Patients present with a fully involved disease. It's why the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society focuses on research to find a cure. Our goal is that when a patient sits in front of his doctor or her doctor and is being told you have a blood cancer, the next words out of the doctor's mouth is, I have an effective treatment for you. So we're fueling the research that generates these new therapies so that the patient's journey can be very different than the one that we heard from Kimberly.
Well, you're both doing a great job just by getting the word out, because I think information is the key to so many of these things and to our survival and our happiness. Dr. DeBennaro, thank you, and Kimberly Alexander, thank you. And thank you also for being on the air with us, obviously.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Stay dry.
Thank you. Yes. All right. We will take a break. Be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Chris Foster. There's a lot of traffic on the Florida Turnpike right now heading north away from where Hurricane Irma may be hitting this weekend. FEMA Administrator Brock Long.
To pinpoint where it's going to make landfall right now is nearly impossible. The states of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina all need to be monitoring this closely.
There's widespread damage already from Irma in the Caribbean and at least 10 deaths. President Trump's deal with the Democrats to fund the federal government and raise the debt ceiling.
He told reporters aboard Air Force One.
We agreed to a 3-month extension on debt ceiling, which they consider to be sacred, very important. Always will agree on debt ceiling.
GOP leaders and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin wanted a much longer extension to the debt limit, in part to prevent a second vote before the 2018 congressional elections.
Fox's Rachel Sutherland in D.C. The deal's tied to Hurricane Harvey relief. Fox News. We report, you decide.
For many businesses, hiring is tough. You want access to highly qualified candidates fast, and you don't want to sign a long-term contract or pay upfront fees. That's why you need Indeed.com, delivering 6 times more hires than any other job site, according to independent research. Indeed is offering new users a $50 credit to give their first job post premium visibility as a sponsored job. Redeem this offer at Indeed.com/credit. That's Indeed.com/credit. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
If you're a small business, first impressions can make all the difference. With Grasshopper, you get all the features of a professional business phone system on your mobile phone. Choose a business phone number, make calls and send texts, making it easy for you and your customers to stay connected. Even get voicemails transcribed. Set up your account in minutes with no long-term contracts and 24/7 customer support. Make your small business big. Now get $20 off your plan when you visit grasshopper.com/radio. That's grasshopper.com/radio.
Today in Florida Ag News, I'm a Southeast Ag Net. While certain ag industries have fared well from the North America Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, specialty crops have not. AgNet Media's Abby Taylor has the story.
Specialty crop growers are more than ready to see changes to NAFTA. Due to the low price of Mexican produce, U.S. specialty crop businesses are being forced out of production. Now, specialty crop growers in the Southeast are voicing their concerns. Bill Brim, president of Lewis Taylor Farms, located in Georgia, spoke for the specialty crop industry in the Southeast and how NAFTA has been hurting it.
It's a thing that hurts Florida, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Mississippi, all of us in here in the Southeast. We're kind of in an area alone by ourselves that is getting hurt.
Ultimately, Brim would like the Southeast to be on the same playing field with